And we're going to talk a little bit about illegal immigration, another law and order subject. I spoke about this on my show to Sheriff Joe. Do you know Sheriff Joe? Yeah! I love Sheriff Joe. He's one of America's great characters. And they're always trying to get him. Why? Because his shit works. Because he's effective and they hate it. So what's the latest thing today is they're trying to, some activist judge is trying to get him on racial discrimination because he suggested that if police reports say that Hispanics commit 80% of crime, it might be a good idea to stop Hispanics, on the basis that if you get a police report saying a Mercedes was speeding away at the scene of the crime, you don't go and start stopping BMWs and Fords. That, in the liberal mind, is racist. I think even those of us who have seen episodes of CSI know it's actually just called policing. One of the major law and order problems we have in America is a group that the social justice cancer types love to support, illegal aliens. They're their favorite people. There are at least 11.3 million illegals in America. Pew Research says that's probably much higher. Only Daddy really knows the answer. I mean, he knows it. Daddy, who knows all things, knows the answer. We have no idea the true number. Why? Because they don't like to be counted. So they don't reply to censuses. These irritating illegal immigrants just won't fill out the form. About 30% of immigrants come here illegally. That's the Center for Immigration Studies. Half illegals are Mexicans, which is declining, but the slack is being picked up by Central and South Americans. As Mexico gets richer, people from further down the south kind of try to make it through Mexico. 6 states account for 60% of illegal immigrants: California, Texas, Florida, New York, New Jersey, Illinois. That's also from Pew. When I walked in, you didn't think you were going to learn things today, did you? Illegals make up 5% of the American workforce. Interesting, 5%. 1 in 20 people working is illegal. Who do you think suffers from that the most? Working class people, blacks, Hispanics, people who came here legally, people who don't have a lot of money, who are here legally and who want to work and who want to get by. And of course the white working classes, which only really Donald Trump has bothered to speak to in the last 45 years of conservative politics, so you can thank him for that. In a country where labour force participation has gone down the entire time Obama has been in office, bringing in unskilled labour possibly isn't the answer. The dirty little secret about illegal alien workers is that the jobs they take hurt black Americans and legal Hispanics much worse than anyone else. Illegals aren't taking computer engineering jobs away from whites. They're not going to threaten you guys. But they do hurt black people. Again, Black Lives Matter somehow omits to mention this stuff. These issues were brought up to Congressional Black Congress by a black attorney, a member of the Civil Rights Commission, Peter Kirsanow. Nobody listened. We'll get to more immigration stuff, I think, later, because I want to wrap up. I've been going on. What I want to take away, what we should take away from all of this is that there's a simple answer to all this, and it's proactive policing. Instead of the Chicago approach and Europe's approach with Muslims having no-go zones where we have to move towards the aggressive policing, that we've seen in New York. Does anyone know what stop and frisk is? No, well, there is a DVD called Stop and Frisk. I thought some of you might have seen it.
Are you in it?
I was younger and I needed the money. Stop and Frisk was a natural extension of the Rudy Giuliani era of policing. Rudy Giuliani, who is something of a sort of, he's like a Voldemort figure for the left. Why? Because, again, his shit worked. Saved thousands of black lives by policing properly. Giuliani turned New York from a nightmare place to live into a pretty great city, into the great city it is now, actually, in a safe place with a vast majority of sex in Central Park is consensual. So, I speak from experience. Only 4 out of 5 times, I don't know. It's fine. Looking back, it was all right. Stop and frisk is a brief stop and questioning of a suspicious person who might have been involved in a crime or might be about to commit a crime. New York cops in the city's worst neighborhoods actively stopped upwards of 500,000 people a year at the height of the program, around 88% of which went on their way with no issue. It's those 12% who had weapons, drugs, and other criminal intent that were caught through stop and frisk. Now, just think about that for a second. Over 1 in 10 people stopped had done something wrong. Over 10%, 12%. That's pretty good, isn't it? That's like a pretty good program. You think, yeah, that's probably quite good use of police time. Yeah, it's racist. Social justice types hate it because the vast majority of stops are black and Latino men, but New York is heavily black and Latino. And newsflash, black and Latinos are the ones committing crimes in black and Latino neighborhoods. Liberal Mayor Bill de Blasio has drastically slashed stop and frisks from more than 500,000 or more a year to just over 20,000. In cities where police are afraid to interact with people because of their skin colour, they cannot effectively do their job. They can't save lives. And this is the result of social justice, it's the result of progressivism. And when some people don't find the gender stuff I do to be particularly important or significant. They're wrong, but I understand why they think, it's a bit of a waste spending all your time on feminism. I've come here today to talk to you about a different dimension of social justice, a different dimension of far-left progressivism that is more starkly and more obviously poisonous, more starkly and more obviously, yes, cancerous. Because this is a natural extension of the kind of philosophy that pits men against women. Social justice pits blacks against whites, Hispanics against blacks, whites against Hispanics. And it does it in some of the ways I've described. Interestingly, Rudy Giuliani's spoken very favorably about Donald Trump, as has Sheriff Joe. So if you're in any doubt about the presidential candidate most likely to restore law and order to America, I think you have your clue there.
I would encourage you
Most of the people understand how police
evangelize as best you can this next election, because the future of your nation is at stake. And without a strong and free America, the rest of the world is screwed. We need you. So don't be dumb. I don't know what to say to you guys. I mean, America doesn't learn its lessons. You've had 9/11 here, you've had Orlando, and still this country is on the precipice of electing a woman who would allow more Islamic immigration into this country, more people raised on hate and terror. In Orlando, where 50 gay people were murdered and another 50... We should shoot back. You should shoot back. Where 50 people were killed, 50 people were injured. And this guy, Omar Mateen, whose dad is, of course, a Hillary supporter. Of course he was. And they have the chutzpah, if you'll forgive the expression. They have the chutzpah to put the guy behind her at a rally. You think they didn't know that? You think they didn't know who he was? Are you kidding me? They're laughing at you. These people are laughing at you, and they're laughing at you as they radically redraw the conceptual and geographic boundaries of the country that belongs to you, that you live in, that you love, and that it has proven itself the greatest country in the history of human civilization. You've got to stay free. You've got to stay strong. And you also got to vote in your own best interests. Most of the people here haven't really felt the full economic force of globalism and globalization yet, but you will. And when you do, you'll discover that wage depression will get you. That the assaults on the First Amendment required to lie to and about people in order to bring in cheap labor. The left wants to do it because they just import voters, You grant amnesty to 11 million illegals, the Republicans will never get in again. The right, establishment GOP. They do it because they don't care about you. They just want cheap cooks and cleaners. Well, I would like you to leave this room and take a message to Paul Ryan's wife's boyfriend. And that message should be, you got to stand behind Daddy. You got to get behind Donald Trump, because if you don't, this country will never, ever forgive you. And neither, by the way, will the rest of the world. If you allow America to change in the way that it is about to, if you allow Hillary Clinton to elect 4 Supreme Court justices, your freedom of speech is gone. Your guns are gone. I'm right about everything.
Milo, first I'd like to say that thank you for designing this shirt that I got on your website.
Thank you.
And before I ask my question, I'd like to preface it by saying that I believe Ronald Reagan said that when we disagree with people, most of the time they're 80% our friend and not 20% our enemy. Mm-hmm. So I'd like to, having said that, I'd like to ask, as someone who is a conservative, who believes that conservative principles are important and that we should rah-rah ideas and not people,
yes.
For me, someone personally who cannot vote for Trump, and I apologize for those, you can call me a cuck-servative all you want.
No, it's okay. We're not going to call you names.
My problem...
You cuck.
Well, hold on.
We're merely going to remind you that you are going to lose your free speech. You're going to have your guns taken away. The Supreme Court is going to entrench abortion law and
off my cold dead hands.
Ruin this country. Well, you see, people like this said they could control it last time. How'd that work out with Obamacare, mate? I mean, you know, this is you know, actually, I'm going to be nice. To ask you a question.
Thank you. So I guess my question is as someone who considers himself a conservative, and for the record, I'm voting for Evan McMullin.
Yes, dear.
It's okay. I vote in the state of Maryland. My vote is irrelevant, anyways. How can I, as a young person, help out the conservative cause after Donald Trump? Unfortunately, and I like to say this as blunt as possible, I firmly believe he's going to lose by 12 or more. How can we, as young people, work to develop the conservative movement so that in 4 years, when we put basically Dorothy with a bucket of water up to beat Hillary, how can we educate more young people who are going to be coming up in the next cycle? And then follow-up question is, what happened with the debate with Ben Shapiro? And is there any chance we can reschedule?
I've answered this every day for weeks.
Were you afraid of getting thug-lifed?
No.
Okay.
Oh, I was very flattered when those Thug Life videos came out of me, and you know, sort of to be praised in that way felt correct. And then I saw the ones he obviously had made for himself, and he's like a meme killer, isn't he? He's like a meme assassin. You know, when he mentioned Harambe, you knew it was over. I'll answer the second one first because it's the easiest one. Ben Shapiro's job in the media now is to rag on his former employers and tell fibs about me. He literally has no other function in America. He's not able to really to say anything. You know, he's one of those people that's just sort of been internally turned into mush by the candidacy of Donald Trump. Like Glenn Beck. Poor. R.I.P. R.I.P. Whatever semblance of sentient life used to exist in that body has floated away into the ether. All that is left is a fucking madman, but not in the good way. Insane. If you want to know, I'll give you the answer again. I'm a lot busier than Ben is, and I didn't reply to an email for I think 9 days, and he took the opportunity to say, "Aha! See, he's backed out. He's a coward." People charging the stage, snatching mics and taking swings for me don't scare me. University officials who are trying to bankrupt my tour by imposing 10 grand security fees don't scare me. Feminists sending dead animals through my letterbox don't scare me. Ben Shapiro doesn't scare me. I would perfectly happy to do a debate with him any day of the week, but he has now taken the position that I'm whatever. Give me a fucking break. Also, of course, I prefer to debate people of a similar stature, and I've taken his audience and his careers over. Shame. On your first question, which I've now forgotten, and I'm going to talk for a little while I remember. Oh, yes, what can young people do? Well, I'm going to give you some tough love. You could have done it this election, you chose not to. You could have picked a winner. You could have chosen somebody, you might not have liked him personally, but you could have chosen somebody who was going to uphold the First and Second Amendments and appoint good people to the Supreme Court, which he obviously was. He obviously took a lot of advice on that list. I can't think of a single prominent Republican who had a bad thing to say about his Supreme Court nominee list. You could have voted for him, but instead you are contributing to Hillary Clinton joining the White House. I don't think you have any right